Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the House of Kayfabe. And we have been on somewhat of a hiatus. We've got a lot of projects in the fire, or irons on the fire. Is that what the kids are saying these days, Steve Barker?
In
Anyway,
1920, yes.
we have a lot of things going on, and we haven't been around for a while, but we wanted to come back today. Steven Barker is with me, and we are talking about a report card for Mr. Triple H. Triple H has been running the WWE for quite a while now. How many months are we looking at here, Steve?
Well, it's when right before Vince left, he was, I think, still the CCO, but everyone knew that Vince was still had final say.
Well, and they were kind of
Officially,
playing with him back and forth. Like for a minute there, he was running things, and then they took it from him, and then the thing with Vince happened, and all of a sudden he's in full control.
yeah, it would have been when all the Vince McMahon allegations dropped,
Right.
and he finally was thrown out of the building. And from that point on, I guess that's what we would call the Triple H era. Now, I know he doesn't want it to be called the Triple H era. I've heard people call it the Renaissance era. Not sure what we're going to call it. I think we're all going to end up calling it the Triple H era.
Well, I think they were calling it the new era. That's what they were calling it, the
That's
new
too
era.
close to the next generation for me.
It really is kind of close to the next generation, and the next generation fails in comparison to what Triple H has been able to accomplish so far. You know, it's exciting for me because I look forward to SmackDown and Raw again. And that's exciting for me. Like, I feel like I have been watching Raw and SmackDown for about 7 or 8 years just because I'm a wrestling fan from 20 years ago. And if I didn't have that fanship before, there's no way I would watch this shit. Like, if I was introduced to wrestling in 2020, I wouldn't be a wrestling fan. And that's sad to say, but now I'm addicted. I've been watching for years and years and years and years, and I'll continue to watch. But the fact of the matter is, wrestling went in a really, really bad place for a very long time under Vince McMahon. And you know me, I don't hate on Vince McMahon. I look at Vince McMahon's contribution to wrestling as something that I valued to watch, as many of us did. However, it fell off, and it never got back because he wouldn't let go of the fact that he had lost touch. And then he had to lose touch, and he had to stop touching people. And Triple H took over that spot and has done an amazing job. There's storylines. I feel like the Bloodline storyline got better. Everything got more exciting. We got to see things we didn't think we would see. I mean, Triple H was even able to take somebody who hated him, who displayed the fact that he hated him on television by smashing a throne with a sledgehammer. And that guy's our world champion right now under Triple H. I guess one of the first things we really need to go over are all the people he brought back, because you may find some mistakes there if we're looking at the report card. I know one in particular, Tegan Knox. Tegan Knox was brought back. She was fired beforehand.
Who?
Triple H. Tegan Knox. And,
I guess.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm sorry. Like,
not a big win.
If there would be, a downgrade on this report card, is like the women's division is in flux. Actually, I think it's about 3 or 4 top gals away from like completely floundering. If we wanted to start out with, because I don't remember who Tegan Knox is. There's that one girl that's named after the bird that was in the Money in the Bank match. That was a monstrosity. I mean, we need Charlotte back. We need Becky back. I think they know that too, because they just signed Gianna, the Italian chick, and then the Argentinian girl or Venezuelan. She's one of them. So I think that they know they need somebody. So when you say Tegan Knox, I don't even know who that is. And I watch every week.
Well, how about Sarah Logan? He brought Sarah Logan back to do.
Well, I like the Antlers. The Antlers are over. I wish War Machine could be War Machine, though.
I wish they could be War Machine, too. And honestly, I wish we could see them back together competing. I'm not sure.
I think one's hurt.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it's Sarah Logan's husband. Another one that he brought back that was kind of a dead fish was Emma. Emma didn't really do much by bringing her back. I do like the fact that he brought back the Good Brothers. Not that they're necessarily doing anything good,
Haven't
but
seen him.
nah, they're not really doing much. But I just like to know that they have a job and that maybe one day they will do something. Also, Hit Row brought back Hit Row.
Well, he didn't
Sent
bring
him-
back Hit Row. He brought B-Fab.
Well, no, he brought back Hit Row, but then he let them go again.
That's good. That's
he
smart.
He kept B-Fab. So that was, I would say, would be not the best move there. Candice LeRae came back.
Dude,
not a
I
huge
actually,
Candice LeRae fan.
I stood beside of her when me and Steve New was hanging out at the WWE Marriott at WrestleMania. Humble brag. And she's not bigger than my 13-year-old daughter. She's so small. I don't get what a poison pixie is. I think it's almost like a throwback to like the Vince McMahon era of
Yeah,
like,
she's
she's a poison pixie, pal. I don't know what the fuck that is. What does it mean?
I think she's only an inch taller than her husband, Johnny. The next one on this list, I did enjoy coming back because I do think she could be a top star as Mia Yim. That was a good pullback.
Yeah, she's going to have to start
Bronson
winning. She's going to have to start winning, though.
Absolutely. What about Bronson Reed? I like the fact that they brought Bronson Reed back. I
didn't know he was back. I thought he got cut.
No.
Bronson Reed's back. Oh, not Bronson Reed. I'm sorry. I was thinking of the country guy with the hairy chest, with long hair. He was his last match was against Braun Breaker.
Oh, you're talking about what is it? Bo Beverly's kid?
No, it's not him.
The forehead?
No, not the forehead guy. No, this guy was like Cameron Grimes.
Oh, Cameron Grimes. Okay.
Yeah, I got those two mixed
I'm
up.
surprised that he's not back because I wouldn't have let him go if I was Triple H, but you don't know the situation. I don't know either. Dexter Loomis. He brought Dexter Loomis back, and I like Dexter Loomis. He's now.
Well, he brought back the Wyatt Six, or he created the Wyatt Six. We're going to see.
He did create the Wyatt Six, and we will get to that here in just a minute. Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Now this one is
cares?
This one's complicated.
Cares?
This one is complicated.
It's not. We had this argument 2 houses ago. That's how long we've been arguing about this, Brian.
This one is complicated because one, Scarlett is awesome.
Of course.
Scarlett could do amazing things, and I am a huge fan of Karrion Kross. I think Karrion Kross could be awesome. I believe that what is going on here is the opposite of the story of Samson and Delilah. Shave your fucking head, Karrion.
You said that 2 houses ago. That's how long we've been bitching about this. You're wrong. I'm sorry. I love Precious Paul Ellering. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the Authors of Pain are doing. I know that guy has some charisma based on interviews and little YouTube shorts of him doing Jesse Ventura. I know he's got something, but I ain't seen jack and shit for 3 years now. So I don't know why he's there. Is he Triple H's workout buddy? That's the only thing I can think.
If he would shave his head and go back to what he was, I don't think that he needs to be a guy in a stable. I believe that the stable is way too close to the Judgment Day without any of the charisma. There's just a lot of things wrong with this, and I think that the answer is to get everybody away from him, shave his head bald, and have him start murdering people like he did in TNA. That was fantastic. When he was on Impact, and he was bald, and he was basically just like this hitman, killer guy, it was a lot better. Killer Kross was better than Karrion Kross.
I'll take your word for it. But for everyone watching, please give us a like, comment, and share. We've been a podcast for 4 years. And if you go back 3 years ago, you'll hear Brian Resner saying the exact same thing about him shaving his head. And I agreed with you then. But look, he's had time to do something. And he just can't get over, man. He just can't fucking get over.
So a next guy that's on the list is Mr. Johnny Gargano. He has right now is doing better than he has the entire time. It's hard to like or dislike Johnny Gargano.
He's Johnny Same Face. He's just there. You know what he is? He's
kind of there.
He is the heel of the bread. You never throw it out. It's always there until the bread is gone and you got 2 heels of the bread left. And that's what he is.
And then you make one sad ass grilled cheese and go on about your business.
That's it.
But that's really what it is. I mean, Johnny Gargano, you can always count on to have a good match.
Yeah.
He's a great wrestler. He just has no charisma whatsoever, and the storylines just don't work. And really, I'm glad that he has Tommaso Ciampa because without him, he'd kind of be screwed. But Tommaso Ciampa isn't able to be as great as he could be because he's stuck holding up Johnny Gargano.
Hey, I'm a huge Sicilian Psychopath fan. Don't get me wrong. What we're not recognizing here is that R-Truth single-handedly got DIY over because their gimmick now is they're kind of, the suck it guys, sort of. And that's all, you know what I mean? And that's just R-Truth with just a throwaway line, which shows you how great R-Truth Ron Killings is.
Absolutely.
But that's the only thing that has made them any kind of entertaining. And I love Ciampa.
We've got to put that on as extra credit. Triple H put gold on R-Truth during his term. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
H.
so much. Dude, I was there. Me and Steve Minu was at WrestleMania, and the two biggest pops, and you can all fight me there if you were one of the other 72,000 people, was, of course, Cody Rhodes winning the championship and R-Truth grabbing that. Dude, in our section, we had a bunch of townie, like, Philadelphia fucks behind us. And they were just like, dude, we will fucking tear these seats out and throw them at the ring if R-Truth don't win. And that's how the whole crowd was. I love it.
So another one on this list that Triple H brought back was Braun Strowman. And I think Braun Strowman is suffering from the exact same thing that Karrion Kross is suffering from. Shave your head, Braun. You have a gigantic bald spot the size of a solar panel on the back of your skull, and we see it. Maybe you don't, but we do, and you need to shave it, or you're always going to be just I know you're wearing the big old SOB shirt, but it's really like
that might get it. The big son of a bitch gimmick might. Thing is, just look at him. He can be balding if he wants to, but just look at him. Look how fucking impressive that guy is. It's not like he has good matches. It's not like he has bad matches. He needs to be booked like Braun Breaker is being booked right now.
Well, it's strange about Braun Strowman, and I've said this a lot of times, and it doesn't make sense to anybody who wasn't there. My wife was there, so it makes sense to her. But I met Braun Strowman at WrestleCade. He walked up to me. We shook hands. Now, I'm not a small man by any means. I know I'm larger than most of my friends, but I am 6'4" tall. That is legit. That is not a wrestling exaggeration height because I am not a wrestler. I am 6'4". Now, Braun Strowman is booked like a monster among men. Now,
well, it's
being
not
6'4",
about this way. It's this way with him. You know what I mean? Like he's fucking super mega jacked, and he was a strong man. We know that he was a strong man. You know what I mean?
I know he's strong, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But they book him like a 6'8" monster, and this guy is definitely 6'4".
Yeah, but look at him. You know what I mean? Look at him. Kane's not 7 foot tall either.
Well, no, but Kane's bigger than me.
Yeah,
I've been beside Kane, and Kane's bigger than I am.
Yeah.
Kane legitly is 6'9". He might not be 6'11", but he's 6'9". Braun Strowman is 6'4", or I have grown. One of the two. But I am not a 6'8" monster.
I think the big SOB, like we know that Triple H on a podcast said that when the WWE goes to Netflix, that they're going to not be, or going to be at least less child friendly. That he's letting, man, let's get into what he's doing well. Who cares about these jabronis?
We got two more. We got two more here I want to mention. One is Dakota Kai. He brought Dakota Kai back. She's in Damage Control. And I was going to say about Dakota Kai, I feel like Dakota Kai is the person that you hire and she's not able to fill any of the spots that you need her for, and you just have her around because you don't know how to fire her. I feel like that's what Dakota Kai is right now, and I think that Damage Control would probably be better without her. So when it comes to bringing people back, I'm not sure that he made a lot of the right decisions there.
Dakota Kai is who you book when she's close to your indie show and you don't have to pay for trans. Why are we taking her seriously? She's this big around. She has no musculature at all. She can barely wrestle.
So the last one I want to mention, we don't have to spend any more time on Dakota Kai, Steven Barker. I can tell it's getting under your skin. Here's the one that I want to talk about that he brought back, Bray Wyatt. He did. He
Yeah.
brought Bray Wyatt back to the WWE, and we did lose Bray Wyatt, but for that time and the potential of what could have been, I cannot imagine how great the storyline could have went with Triple H being in control of the WWE and Bray Wyatt having the creative freedom to really go. And
Man,
we really got robbed there.
it will be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, what ifs in the history of wrestling. Because I've made it very clear on here that I did not like a lot of, okay, specifically, I did not like that John Cena match at WrestleMania. I understand it was a pandemic. They're trying to do something different. And I understand that Bray Wyatt was trying to do something different. Here's something I was thinking about. Let's see what you think about this. I was watching the NBA finals and the NBA finals are gone. And then I've got to wait until, September or October when it starts up again. And that's all the sports that I watch. There's an off season. With wrestling, we never stop watching wrestling. And that means we see more of our sport than any other person does with their sport.
True.
And we've seen it all. I'm 47. I've been watching since 1986. We've seen it all. And Bray Wyatt, along with Rhea Ripley, are two things that we've never seen like this before. You know what I mean? Like the Fun House was so original. And I don't know if it was all great, but I know that when it came on, I was like, man, I've never seen this on WWE. I've never seen this in wrestling. And he was such a good performer. If Dusty was still here, he would say he was going to be in motion pictures, baby. Like he was going to be the heel star of Hollywood, where The Rock goes, and he's always the baby face, and John Cena is always like the funny guy that you like. Bray Wyatt was going to be like the bad guy character in horror movies when he got done with wrestling. It's such a downer, man. Now, bringing back the Wyatt Six, if Vince McMahon was running shit, I would not be giving it as much rope as I have. I'm waiting to see if this works. And the reason why I'm waiting is I trust Triple H. And I think it's what this comes down to for this whole episode. This podcast has been a podcast for 4 to almost 5 years. I have to go back and check because we used to not be on YouTube and just be in podcast form. And if you remember, when we all first met and got together in our chat that we will one day make available on Patreon, there were multiple people were like, and you maybe even, we're watching wrestling out of habit. This sucks. Watching Rusev get made a cuck by Bobby Lashley because some old pervert wanted to see, something that maybe later on we figured out why he wanted to see that. Did we want to see the Lost Matadors? You know what I mean? Shit was so bad that we were just watching because that's what we do on Mondays. Like, Brian,
Right.
what do you do on Mondays? I work and I watch Raw. And Vince McMahon was able to skate on our goodwill and our love of what we've seen. That was great. Triple H is making new fans. In my real life, I'm a teacher and I've got kids talking about wrestling again. And it's been a long time. I tell you what, the last time kids talked about wrestling was during the height of John Cena, when John Cena was the guy. Yep. I would see John Cena shirts, and then I saw nothing for years. And every once in a while, if I thought the kid might be one of us, hey, you watch wrestling. Now, kids are watching wrestling again. Triple H is growing the business again. He's killing it.
He is absolutely killing it, and I'm so excited to see what happens with the Wyatt Six, because this is some really captivating television. Who would have ever thought that a dead man, a legit, not an Undertaker, but a legit dead man, is the centerpiece of a major story on Monday Night Raw?
It goes to how good he was and how much the crowd loved him.
They slightly did this with Eddie Guerrero. Just a little bit. They just barely scraped the surface with using a dead man in their storyline. But this is on a completely different level. We've never seen anything like this before, and I love that Triple H tries things that have never been done before. And you know what we haven't even talked about? We could sit here and talk about the Wyatt Six, and it could be the whole show. Mm-hmm. But we haven't even mentioned what he's doing with the Bloodline.
Dude, we haven't mentioned what he's been doing with the overall look of this show, and we'll get to that because you're right. Again, if you want to listen to the dirts, we know that Kevin Dunn was the reason why WWE looked stagnant because we've been watching 50 to 104 episodes of wrestling every year of our life ad nauseum, and he never changed. The only thing that he did a lot of was jump cuts. The look and the feel of WWE right now, those long West Wing style tracking shots where you see them coming from the backstage, going past other performers, going through Gorilla and
Or
going
a
out.
world title match. A world
Yeah.
title match when they're doing the announcement of who this person is, and the camera shot
That
is just
camera,
awesome.
it's
It
like
feels like a video game.
fisheye. Yeah, it's like a fisheye lens, and it also, if you notice, it blurs the background, so it makes it look like a video game. And UFC does it too. The look of it is all fresh and new. We're getting what I know it's not drone shots, but like shots over, and they've messed around with it a little bit in the past, but now
Actually,
it's becoming something
I've
regular.
I have been at Raws where drones are all over the place.
Is that where it is? Okay.
So, and actually at Royal Rumble in St. Petersburg, there
Okay.
were a ton of drones. So I would not say that it's not drone shots. It probably is.
But the look of it, we know that Kevin Dunn left, and they brought in the ESPN guy. And dude, I looked him up because I knew we were going to talk about him, and I can't fucking remember his name. It's a strange name. The guy came in and he freshened up the look of this. One of the best shots that we've seen was when Sami Zayn was in Montreal, and main event Uso went back through the crowd, met with Sami Zayn, and they followed Sami Zayn all the way through. Now, technically, that's hard to do. That's the famous scene, the kitchen scene in Casino. That's a really hard thing to do. And they're doing it every week now. And to see CM Punk go through the legendary gorilla position, all of these things look great. Another thing that we haven't talked about, and I definitely want to, and I'll fucking fight anybody in the comments section who doesn't agree with me. Michael Cole, quite frankly, is the best announcer in the game. And I said it, suck my ass. Pat McAfee's killing it, but Michael Cole is the best announcer in wrestling, and he's going to end up on a fucking Mount Rushmore. Go ahead.
Okay, here's what I will say. At one time, I would have disagreed with you to the end of this episode, but I'm telling you right now, I agree with you 100%. Michael Cole off the Vince McMahon leash is awesome, and he has done nothing but great things. And Pat McAfee has brought the absolute best out in him, and Corey Graves does a great job of bringing the absolute best. Honestly, our announce desk at every show is great right now.
I
It
don't
really is.
love Wade Barrett, but I don't hate him. I think he's obviously the worst of the bunch, but even he isn't that bad.
I think Booker T's the worst of the bunch.
I don't watch NXT.
Booker T's definitely the worst of the
quack,
bunch.
quack, Resna.
But Wade Barrett, I don't dislike Wade Barrett. I think he's good.
Like I said, he's not. He's just not at the Pat McAfee, Michael Cole level.
No,
Dude,
he's not. I
Michael-
mean, but Pat McAfee is a gifted man. And Michael Cole, he is an absolutely legendary. I mean, Gordon Soley level type of talent
Yes.
that has been locked in a cage for years and years and years and years and years. And now we're actually seeing the talent.
You can't do something as long as he's been doing it. Michael Cole got trained by Jim Cornette and JR and Paul Heyman. The second time that Paul Heyman, whenever it was that Paul Heyman last was in the WWE, he's been doing this shit for over 20 years.
It's a perfect example of why micromanaging doesn't work. Because you have a talent like that with Michael Cole, and for all those years, Vince McMahon was like, I can do this better. I'm going to make him like me. When actually, just let him go. Just let him go, and he will show you how to do this. Because he knows.
He's allowed to be emotional, and we're going to talk about that with everything else in WWE right now. You can't get inside of your emotions when you're being yelled at by a lunatic billionaire in your ear every 5 seconds. Michael Cole was able to get lost. Like I went to WrestleMania, and when Cody Rhodes won, like maybe the second or third thing I thought was, I can't wait to watch because I want to hear Michael Cole's call on this. And of course, it was iconic. When Michael Cole said, did he say, God damn it, I love professional wrestling? That wasn't a line that was delivered. That was some shit he felt. Or he's become one of the greatest workers in the history of the sport. That's a possibility too. Because when I came home, the next day after I got back home, I watched that match. I went straight to that match. And when he said that, I was like, I believe you. I believe that you
Right.
feel that, Michael Cole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't want to get away from what I tried to bring up just a second
Let's
ago.
go.
We got to talk about the bloodline.
I don't
Now,
think it's better, but
I'm
it's
not saying
amazing
it.
that he's able to extend it.
Well, you have to keep in mind that Roman leaving was not an option. Roman had to go home. Roman needed the time off. Obviously, what was going on with Roman was too serious for him to even beat Hogan's record, or else he would have won at WrestleMania. And it's it, the way that it went down. You had no option. So at that point, does the bloodline end? And a lesser man would have probably said, "Yeah, let's just end it. Maybe we'll bring it back when he comes back." But instead, Triple H got creative with it and said, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to sign some really big talent that people have been talking about for years. That said that they should have been here years ago, and we couldn't get them over here. And now we've got a whole new bloodline. And yes, the leadership of the bloodline is weak. I am not a Solo fan. I do not believe that Solo. I mean, it's. Let me rephrase that. I'm not a Solo being the main event guy fan. I am a Solo being an enforcer of the bloodline. He was doing great at that. He's not in a position to be the leader of this group. And I think that may be a weakness in the sauce, but as of right now, seeing these guys come out, knowing that Jacob Fatu is in the WWE, knowing that Hakuleo is on his way, like all of this stuff excites me. And the biggest thing that excites me is Roman Reigns is going to show back up, and we are going to see that bloodline war that we've been talking about, the bloodline civil war, and all of this stuff is going to come to pass. And it makes me think about when Vince McMahon was in control of the WWE, we would fantasy book like this and know for a fact that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Now we fantasy book like this because we know it's going to happen. He is a fan like us. It's not like Vince McMahon. Yes, he was a wrestling fan. He was his own type of wrestling fan, and I think he was almost more like a fan of his own self and
Yeah.
what he could do with his toys. And with Triple H, it's a completely different world. It's almost like, hey, we're all a team delivering a product, and this is our best foot forward. And I think that's what makes the stuff that you see and you're like, man, I wish they would do that. That's obvious shit that could be done, and Triple H sees the obvious shit. It's not like a Vince McMahon who's like, oh, well, what they want is not what I want. I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to entertain myself with this at this point. And I feel like that's what he was doing.
Of
And
course
it
it
wasn't
was.
entertaining anyone else.
That's why his favorite time, I'm sure, was during the pandemic when he could book the crowd. Like that
Yeah.
during the out of control Zoom meeting that was the Thunderdome. That was Vince McMahon's wet dream. Well, one of his wet dreams was to be able to book the crowd. I'll do some bullshit and I think it's heel stuff. And now bring up all the heel faces in the crowd. Man, what Triple H is doing, and the God Emperor Cornette talks about this all the time. A lot of the tenets of wrestling were taken care of a long time by greater men than who are doing it now. And if you listen to, I can't remember what interview it was, Triple H said he knew what WrestleMania was going to be in October, which meant that if he knew what was going to go on in April and October, he knew what was going to go on in July and like January or December. He knew where he's going. A lot of Vince, and we know this for a fact, if you believe the sheets, Vince would come in and the program would be written and they'd rewrite it that night. And it was obvious that's what was going on. Triple H, student of the game, he is the game. He studied this shit. And if you're going to tell stories, look, man, when Game of Thrones started I'm only talking about the first 4 seasons. They knew where the fuck they were going and they knew how to get there. And they knew what they needed to do with the characters to get them there. And something else that Triple H is very good at, and we as WWE Universe members are very happy to be, finally listened to. He's listening to us. And that's what they used to do in the territory days, because you couldn't afford to lose the crowd because you didn't make no money. You know, the WWE, I think Vince McMahon was able to indulge his worst tendencies because WWE is a fucking legacy. It's a legacy brand in America. It's Disney. It's Time.
Right.
It's
Well, I mean,
fucking
we were just
New
talking
York
about it.
Times. It's
We were-
fucking WWE.
We were just talking about how we were not happy with wrestling.
We still watched it.
We still watched it every single week like clockwork. It was like a chore that we had to
It was-
complete.
It was a chore.
Yeah, it was a chore that we had to complete. And that is a sick stranglehold that you have on people to be able to produce bad shit that they still consume because they really want it to be good. It's crazy to even think about, but that's us. That's what we did.
Well, it's us, but it's a testament to the people who made us love it in the first place. You kept watching because maybe Brett and Owen will happen again. You kept watching because maybe Stone Cold versus The Rock will happen again. That's what was. It's a testament to, and for me, like maybe Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will happen again. We kept waiting for that, and now we're fucking getting it.
Yeah.
Again, I've talked about it a few times. I've been watching wrestling since 86. WrestleMania 40, the last 10 minutes of that match might be the greatest thing that's ever happened in wrestling. And this isn't recency bias, because this has been a few years or a few months ago, and I've been able to, get off that high. And it was so well set up. Triple H is just a genius. All we got to hope is that he never, he doesn't get thrown out for whatever reason, because Triple H has made wrestling cool again. Now, we do have to bring up The Rock coming back, which is, I'm sure, a Triple H decision. Helped a lot. Helped a lot. A lot of people came back. You know what I'm saying?
They started selling out arenas.
Yep.
When that happened.
And he wasn't even wrestling.
But it also did not go the way they planned it to go. And that's another testament to Triple H, is they had a plan. They go in with a plan. The fans say no. Triple H has to go to plan B. And he had a plan B, and he executed it. And that's just another testament to him. But before we give him his actual grade and we close out this episode for Triple H's report card, I do want to talk about some of the things that he tried to accomplish that he couldn't accomplish. One of those things being Mr. Will Ospreay. He wanted Ospreay. He didn't get Ospreay.
Who cares?
Well, I care.
I mean, whatever. Here's the thing. Do you think that if Will Ospreay was there, and I know he's a great wrestler, I
He's
understand
amazing.
all that.
Quite possibly the best in the world right now. The best active wrestler in the world.
I mean, the best wrestler is he who makes the most money, and that would be Cody
MJF.
Rhodes. Cody Rhodes. MJF ain't making $15 million a year. Fuck off. Get out of here. And Cody Rhodes made $1 million in 2 days. So I don't want to fucking hear it. He is good at doing wrestling moves. Let's talk about it real. He's a good maker of wrestling moves. I don't know what his gimmick is. I don't know who he is. Is he cool? Is he funny? Is he
You don't
mean?
get it, bruv.
No, I don't
get it,
care.
bruv.
Exactly. I don't.
But okay,
But
so
my point is, even if they got him, what would that add? Yes, okay, him and Ricochet could have a good match, but can he do an
Him and-
angle?
him
Can
and
he cut
anybody.
a promo?
Yeah, he can do all that. You really need to pay attention to Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay was definitely. I guarantee you that Triple H thinks about Will Ospreay as like a man. Damn,
I
the one
bet you
that
he
got
don't.
away.
I bet you he goes
I-
out and sees a sold out building and was like,
I'm sure.
yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
you're right. It's not going to have any type of impact that that you didn't get him in the WWE, but it would have been exciting for the fans if you would have. Now, another name, of course, that we just mentioned, MJF. If the bidding war of 2024 would have went Triple H's way, he would have had the hottest heel in the business, MJF.
That
Now,
would have moved the needle.
it would have moved the needle, and it would have also given you an out for the Cody Rhodes Roman match, because you could have had Cody Rhodes ready to win the world title and MJF show up and screw him out of the title, and then everyone would all of a sudden know who MJF was in the WWE world. But that would have also brought a lot of eyes to AEW.
Here's
So
the thing
I'm not
about
sure.
I
if
think
if they would have wanted to
MJF.
do that.
I think MJF is still young enough. Like, let's look at what the top talent in WWE is right now. It's Randy Orton, over 40. Kevin Owens, close to 40. Sami Zayn, close to 40. Fucking AJ Styles, my age. The Rock is over 50. Roman Reigns, close to 40. Seth, close to 40. MJF has plenty of time. I think he's such a smart worker in the ring because he doesn't do all the bullshit AEW stuff. He can have his matches and not blow out both quads and rip all of his pectorals off of his fucking body. And he knows that he can milk this douche for however many. It's not 15 million. I do not believe that. Because actually, not to be that guy, I know exactly how much an AEW employee is for a shoot, and it's not close. He's not getting 15 million. I think that he's what, 27-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish, something like that. He's got plenty of time. Dude,
Sure.
LA Knight was 38 or 37 when he got signed.
And I feel
MJF
like
knows
that's
he's
what's going to
make this
happen to
money.
MJF.
Yeah,
I
he'll
feel
go
like
to
MJF's going to show up a little too old and not get what he should have normally got. He should have went to WWE.
No.
But-
I trust him.
Then there's another one. Really big fan of this man, and he could not secure him. Okada. Did not get Okada. He wanted
Look,
Okada.
man, I am a big NJPW fan. I think the reason which Tonga is not Camacho. Tonga Loa Tonga. They got it. Which one is it? Tonga Loa. Tonga Loa.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy wrestles more like New Japan strong style than even fucking Shinsuke does in the WWE. If you have the eyeballs for that style, look, man, unless you cash in on white Americans' fetishization of Japanese girls, they had one of the greatest of all time. Shinsuke Nakamura is a Mount Rushmore New Japan wrestler, and they didn't do shit. Vince
He's
didn't do
not
shit with
ranked
him.
higher than Okada, though.
I mean, that's an argument that you can make. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's an argument
I
there.
mean,
it isn't
either
like
way,
it isn't like they're this far off. You know what I mean? And they weren't able to do anything with him. Okada, I mean, maybe. I think you're bringing too much of an AEW eye to it, and I respect that. And
Well,
I don't
that's
have
where
any
they-
AEW
but
eyes.
what I'm saying is that's where they lost him to. That's the only reason why there's an AEWI there is because they went to AEW, because stars that level, they're not going to go to TNA.
Okada,
You know, it's-
well, Okada did early on in his career when he was Okado,
Right.
which was
So-
so racist.
We-
I don't see either any of okay, except for MJF, obviously. I don't see Cody moving the needle any more than it is now. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't either.
Us hardcores might be interested.
But
But
what I'm
nobody
saying
else
is
would.
Triple H wanted them. Triple H
Yeah.
wanted all three of those guys. He wasn't able to get them. Now, we've got two more things to talk about before we give this man his grade. And the first thing is the connection between the WWE and TNA.
Yes.
To me,
Wonderful.
this is what TNA has always needed. TNA should be the breeding ground. I hope that we get to a point where during the draft, NXT drafts from TNA, and the rest of the rest of the shows, SmackDown and Raw, draft from NXT. That would be a beautiful way to see it go down. But I am so excited to see. I'm hoping we get to see Moose. I'm hoping we get to see Joe Hendry. We're obviously going to see Joe Hendry. His face is on NXT like every second.
That dude is so over, man.
He is.
And
so
look,
over.
let me put Brian Resner over
I
because
believe
he
in
does
Joe
have,
Hendry.
he does have an eye for talent. You know, he used to be a promoter himself. You were talking about Joe Hendry like last year, and I was like, you were talking about Joe Hendry and like Bill Nothing or something, John something. Well, who's that motherfucker?
Jake something.
That's the dumbest name ever. But
It is the dumbest name, but that dude dude's awesome, man. I'm telling you. And actually, that wasn't me that was talking about Jake something a year ago. I just discovered Jake something probably about 6 months ago. It was Derek.
Of course.
During the original podcast before we went to YouTube, he did a spotlight on Jake something and talked about how Jake something was the next big thing. And I'm telling you, you see the guy work, he is awesome. And then you got to think about Eddie Edwards and Jordan Grace, of course. We've seen her a couple times, but she is going to be there full time.
Friend of the show.
It will not be very long before we see Jordan Grace in the WWE full time. So I have high hopes for the women's division too.
I'm glad you brought that up because it was shocking. Like, again, we've watched so much wrestling. We've seen so much wrestling. We saw the TNA Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. Shocking. The last time that happened was when the Smoky Mountain Tag Team belts were on WWE, and that was Jimmy Del Rey and whoever the other fucking guy was. And that's when Jim Cornette. Who was it?
Fucking Tom Pritchard, man.
Sorry, man. Tom Pritchard. Sorry. That was the last time I think we saw someone else's belt.
No, we also seen the NWA World Title when Dan Severn had it.
Oh, I mean, that was still the same era.
It was pretty much the same time period, but I think it was right after that we saw that. So yeah.
And I think it's just because everyone was too scared to tell Dan Severn no.
Right. Right. But Jordan Grace coming out with the title. I was at Royal Rumble when she came out, and it was amazing.
Pop crazy.
I couldn't believe. I definitely was popping. I think there were a lot of people around me that didn't know who she was, but there was obviously a lot of people in the arena who did, because there was a significant pop there. It just wasn't in the people that were sitting around me. They were like, "Who's this?" So I had to tell them that Jordan Grace is phenomenal.
Right.
But this partnership with TNA could bring a lot of things. I know the Rascals recently came out on the show on NXT on Tuesday. That was exciting for me because Trey Miguel. I've always been a huge fan of Trey Miguel even before he was in the Rascals, and now seeing him being on WWE TV, like when he was on screen and he was like, "You can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm here." I believed him. Like, he really felt that. Like you were talking about Michael Cole earlier. He really felt that. He really did feel that because he couldn't believe he was there. So that is another great thing that Triple H was able to do, and keeping people's name the same, I think kind of falls into the same category there.
That brings it up. I think the number one guy he has signed, and it's the guy that we never thought was going to come, and it's the guy that should have been in Solo Sikoa's spot, and it's who I am most excited about. And he didn't change his name, and he brought him in. He made him lose some weight. But Jacob Fatu coming to WWE was shocking. And the way that they were able to talk about him being lawless and things are going to not be so, they just like,
it's kind of crazy that he went to Canada, don't you think?
How did he get in? WWE's got to have a relationship with the government.
They got something going on because Jacob Fatu was able to come in, and normally
the Usos shouldn't be able to go.
Right, and they were able to as well. So that's interesting. Another thing Triple H has done is worked out some backdoor deals with the Canadian government to get criminals in the country. So right on, Triple H. Now, the last thing that I want to bring up before we give the official grades is the one thing that we thought was never going to happen: the return of CM Punk. And that in itself, out of all the great things that we have spoke about, out of all the things that we've talked about that Triple H was able to do, the fact that he was able to swallow his pride and see an opportunity to not only move the needle, but punch his enemy right in the fucking nuts. He brought CM Punk back to the WWE, which no one ever thought was ever going to happen. And I am fucking thrilled about it. Thank you, Triple H, for that.
Look, man, when I was a kid, I was a big gangster rap fan, and EPMD said it. It's business, never personal. And even Vince McMahon was business, never personal. He brought back the Ultimate Warrior after the Ultimate Warrior basically said he was Satan. Triple H is business. He doesn't care.
I don't know that Vince McMahon would have brought back CM Punk, though.
He would have. He would have.
I don't know that
Bruno.
He brought back. I don't know that he would have brought back CM Punk, and I don't know that CM Punk would have came back.
No,
to him.
CM Punk would have not come back to Vince McMahon. But I think what you're seeing with Triple H in that sense is you're seeing the positive attributes of Vince McMahon in Triple H, that this ain't personal. This is business. And it
Absolutely.
was, I think, I don't know if I would give Triple H that much credit, because it's truly, he saw $100 bill on the ground and he picked it up. It was a very, very easy thing. Sure, 2012 or what it was, he buried you in a podcast that no one remembers. I watched it, or I listened to it twice on Thanksgiving. I'll never forget it. But Triple H, what is it? What is it? The lion does not care what the wolf thinks. You know what I'm saying? Triple H knows its business. And he also knew that it was going to run.
Lion doesn't care what the sheep think.
That's it.
But
It was from the Game of Thrones, because we've already been there once. I think that that's just the easiest business move that any wrestling corporation could do.
I
Is sign
guarantee
CM
you
Punk
it
after
wasn't
AEW.
easy.
Oh,
It was not easy to get the hatchet buried. It was not easy to get the deal inked. It was not easy to sneak him in the building so no one saw. Everything about it was just artistry, and Triple H did a great job. Now, we are at the end of this episode. We do have to wrap it up, so we need to give him a grade. A, B, C, D, E, and F. I guess we won't do an E, but A, B, C, D, F. What is your grade for Triple H thus far as the Chief Content Officer?
You know, when we planned to do this episode a couple of weeks ago, and again, we apologize for being gone so long. All of us in this damn on this channel is just so busy, but we do miss talking wrestling with our buddies, and we're so glad you watch. I was going to say that he hadn't brought romance angles back, but then he did kind of a romance angle with Liv Morgan, because
Absolutely.
I really fucking hate romance angles. The only one that's ever worked was Otis and Mandy. Hold on. Mandy and Otis, and of course Elizabeth and Macho Man. And this isn't a creepy old man's idea of a romance angle. This kind of makes sense. Liv Morgan is being a seductress, nappy head hoe, as you will. And she's doing this to fuck with her arch nemesis. It's not like Bobby Lashley's like, I see that blonde, I want to get that girl, I'm gonna fuck his Bulgarian's woman. No, it actually makes sense that they are doing this, and
Yes.
It's not really a romance angle, right? It's a seedy end of the night bar thing. You know what I mean? And because of that, I'm going to give him an A-, just because I don't think we have seen the best yet. I mean, we saw what he did at his first. We saw what he did at his first WrestleMania. Imagine what he's going to do when he's got the second WrestleMania. I'm going to say A-.
Okay, I can appreciate an A-. I think that he's done a great job, but I will tell you, I am not going to judge this on what's going to happen in the future, because I know the future is going to be even more A+. So that is exactly what I'm giving Triple H thus far as the Chief Content Officer. You get an A+ with me, buddy, but you've always had an A+ with me. I've always been a huge fan of Triple H, the King of Kings, and now him running the show is exciting for me. If you are watching this, click like, let us know that you're here, comment, share, and also hit the little bell so you can subscribe to our channel and you can watch all the videos right here on the House of Kayfabe YouTube channel. Mr. Barker, thank you so much for joining me tonight here on the Triple H Report Card episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please put your opinions in the comments. Tell us where you think Triple H has failed. Tell us where you think Triple H has succeeded. Give us your grade on Triple H thus far. We would love to hear it, and we will be back soon to talk more wrestling with you right here on the House of Kayfabe.